Hey guys, it's Clovis, and today we're going to talk about warriors. So, there's a lot of warriors in the game, so I won't be going through every single one in detail. There's just way too many for like one video, so I'll be talking about the most important ones. After I talk about the deck leader abilities, that'll be the first thing I do, because, you know, I always got to tell you guys about them. I'll probably go through all the rituals, because they're like the most important monsters, and then, you know, I'll break them up into their elements, like their attributes, and then talk about the more and less important ones of each element, so to say. I will be commenting on things that I think are worth commenting on, whether they're good or bad, and then probably just ignoring some things that are less significant. So the deck leader abilities for warriors are actually pathetic, if I'm honest. Compared to like the rest of the game, they're extremely weak. All you get as a warrior is extended support range, all the way up until you get to Secretary of Defense. You get weaken specific enemy type. That's all you get. So weaken specific enemy type, you can weaken spellcasters and dragons. So hooray, it's the only ability in the game that can make dragons weaker. So if you have a 5-star deck leader that's a warrior at SD, you can make enemy blue eyes white dragons will have 500 less attack, stuff like that. That's extremely underwhelming, guys. I reckon forget that. What you guys want to do, in my personal opinion, is get yourself a level 3 or lower warrior as a deck leader, because these guys get open opponent's card, and this card is pretty cool. So not only does this give you information of the opponent's cards, but it also disables stuff like flip effects. And in combination with extended support range, I actually think it turns open opponent's card from like a niche little effect to actually one of the strongest effects in the game. If you have extended support range and open opponent's card, and you're playing on the opponent's side of the field, especially if they're cornered, you can cover, like, you know, this covers literally half of the map, and, you know, you only really use half of the map most of the time when you're playing the game. So if you're playing around your enemy, then every time they play a card, if you surrounded their summoning space with your leader ability range, it automatically flips that card face up as they play it, and if it's a trap they can't move it, if it's a spell they can't move it without activating it, and if it's a flip effect monster, they can't flip it up to activate the effect. It just automatically gets flipped up without the effect activating. So having a level 3 or lower warrior actually makes more sense than having one that's higher than level 3, otherwise your abilities are actually weaker. Now, you can pick any of these, but my personal recommendation is actually, where is it? Dragoness, the Wicked Knight, and the reason for that is this is a fusion card. I don't actually know of any other cards that are 3 stars or lower warriors that are actually fusion, so Dragoness is the one I picked. You just fuse a warrior with a dragon, you know, provided they're not 1200 attack or above, and of course that way you can do my method where you stick 5 out on the field face up and skip turns, and that's the fastest way you'll be able to level something up without cheating. So if you guys want a really good deck leader, I recommend Dragoness the Wicked Knight. If you do want a higher one, however, just because you want to be cool, you want like a strong dude, I would pick Judgeman, purely because of the fusion tactic. You can have 3 of these out, you can acquire these from either Seto Kaiba or also Richard. You can also fuse this by fusing the Judge Hand with 1100 attack or above warrior. And there's actually quite a lot of 1100 attack or above warriors, not just like, you know, obviously there's going to be the stronger monsters, but there's ones that are 3 stars that have 1100 attack. And that's good because the Judge Hand also has 3 stars, and it's 1400 attack, which is actually pretty good for 3 stars, but the important thing about this is you can fuse the Judgment Hand with another 3-star card like Dragon Statue or even Dream Clown, and that'll make the Judge Man for 3 stars. So not only is that useful in like any warrior deck, or especially like an Earth Warrior deck, it just means you'll be able to level it up faster using that method if you guys want to have Judge Man. So if you guys want a warrior deck leader, I recommend Dragoness or Judgeman, and also don't forget these guys get the bonus slot, so it's not the worst thing in the world if you max these out. Obviously they're better candidates, but if you really like warriors, then, you know, go ahead and do that. Alright, so there are 7 warrior rituals in the game. That's crazy. Some archetypes don't even have a single one. These are really spread out though, so you wouldn't be using all of them. Some of them I think aren't really that good at all. I mean, let's face it, they're all pretty shit, but you know, in relation to rituals, some of these are actually really bad. So let's start with Millennium Shield. People love this card because it's one of those high defense cards. Some people really like high defense cards because they're just cool like that. The cool thing about this is, if you are playing a defensive strategy, it's not a bad card. Basically, you sacrifice 3 of any type of monster that has 2000 or more defense, and it will give you Millennium Shield. And when Millennium Shield is face up in defense, it gives all your cards an additional 500 defense points. So Millennium Shield itself has 0 attack and 3000 defense, which I find kind of funny. So obviously you're not really supposed to be attacking with that card, but a fun thing you can do is always use Sword and Shield with it, and then just start destroying people with this giant shield. Guardian. This card obviously has to be just the most popular card in the game, if not for Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon or Blue Eyes White Dragon. This card is tedious as shit to summon, okay? You have to play 3 materials that have 7 stars, and there's no way to reduce any of them, so basically, if you want to be playing this card, you need to use some strategies to do that, guys. You definitely want to be using cards like Gate Dig or Berthamate to max out your summoning level so you can play these cards. Also, a strategy I recommend is dumping stuff out of your hand and using cards like Mimic Hat or Monster Reborn to do it. So, imagine this. Imagine your second turn you play Singer of the Thunder, then you'll be left with 0 summoning levels, so you need to wait a max of 3 turns after that to be able to play another 7-star card. What instead you can do is, on that 3rd turn, if you have, say, like Suijin and Kazajin in your hand, you can dump any number of them to your graveyard as you're summoning one of the 7-star materials, so you're only using 7 stars to do that. But then you can play like Monster Reborn or Mimic Hat for 0 stars and use that to revive one of those 7-star materials in your graveyard. So anyways, Gate Guardian, second highest attack of any monster in the game, 3750, and whenever damage is inflicted to life points in battle to this card, the damage is reduced to 2, so that clones the effects of the materials. That's pretty pointless. I mean, this is like the 2nd strongest card in the game, so I don't think you'll be losing any life point with this. But, you know, some people like this card. It definitely has an appeal to it. It's like the biggest card in the game, and it has a cool attack, and it's used in the Labyrinth Duel, and that was a pretty good duel, so, yeah. Blackluster Soldier is a bit random in this game, so to ritual summon it, you need to sacrifice a Gaia the Fierce Knight and 2 other weak monsters. Interesting thing about this card, it is a dark attribute in this game. For whatever reason they made it dark. It's supposed to be Earth. It also normally doesn't have an effect, but in this game, if you battle a dragon monster, you gain 600 points. Quite a lot of the rituals have effects like that, so I guess that's why they stuck it on this card to make it a bit better than, you know, just playing a 3000 attack vanilla monster for all that ritual effort. What can I say about Blackluster Soldier? It's pretty cool. I like its attack animation, I like its stats, I like being able to play it out of the hand because, you know, cheats, but as far as ritual summon goes, you know, all these cards will be saying the same thing for, but it's just totally not worth it. Garma Sword Oath is one of the cards you get from Pegasus. So, you duel Pegasus. You also get Swordstalker from him, who's required to ritual summon this card. It's Swordstalker and 2 weak warriors, I think. Garma Sword's pretty cool actually, 7 stars, 2550, so as with the cheats, if you have this in your hand to play as a warrior deck, it's a really awesome card actually. Not bad at all. It also has a pretty neat effect, 800 point bonus when battling spellcasters. Considering spellcasters are one of the more common, more expensive types in the game, I think this is actually pretty okay for a monster, you know. Obviously the ritual summon's always gonna suck, but it's cool design as well, cool attack and everything. The card just in general is pretty damn cool. Hungry Burger is summoned by playing the hamburger recipe ritual. Yes, it's really called the hamburger recipe, and I don't really exactly know what to say. It's pretty cute that, you know, it recommends you use stuff like Griggle, I guess is supposed to be the lettuce. Bioplant is supposed to make it sentient, I don't know, and, you know, the Battle Steer is like the meat of the burger. I always found that pretty funny. It automatically kills beasts, so if you guys are against beasts, you can play this, and it's pretty cool, you know. This burger's pretty nice. I mean, it has 2 layers of lettuce and a big tomato slice that's the size of the bun, and it's got some mayo in there, I think, and of course a cute little Japanese flag to hold it together for you guys so it doesn't fall apart when you're trying to eat it. But no, in all seriousness, this card really is not that good. It's strong on toon terrain, so it'll be a nice toon card, but I mean, you use non-toon monsters to summon it, so I find it pretty crap, you know, like most rituals. And the last of the warrior rituals, we have Skull Guardian, pretty weak for 7 stars. He's got 20-50 attack, but again, summoning level doesn't really matter for rituals in this game. This actually has 2 effects. I think this is really cool and a really fair card, actually. When this card's flipped face up, it strengthens all your light monsters by 300 points, but also when it attacks fiends, it gains 900 points, so it's like an anti-demon sort of holy dude. This card is really cool. He has blades for arms, which kind of sucks. It means he might have difficulty eating that hungry burger, but he has no difficulty slashing enemies to the ground. I'm sorry, but this guy just looks really fucking awesome. This has to be one of my favorite like model designs in the game. Really awesome card. I love playing it as a vanilla monster too. You don't have too many light warriors in the game, which we'll segue into after talking about the Skull Guardian. So it's nice to have this card in your deck if you use cheats, but otherwise for ritual summon, you can always revive the mystical elves, or you can always flip the mystical elves up before you use them. It won't power up the Skull Guardian, but you can do strategies like that. And I mean, mystical elf you can play for 1 stars anyway, so you can play 2 mystical elf for 1 star. Well, sorry, 1 mystical elf for 1 star, and then 2 warriors for like 4 stars. 2 light warriors if you want to keep the synergy going, and then go ahead and play Skull Guardian. So as I said, while I'm here, I may as well go through the light warriors. There's only 4 of them in the game. 1 of them is ritual summon only, so if you don't have a cheating device, you can't get Skull Guardian or any of these other ritual cards for that matter. Otherwise, if you have access to this card, or you just want to use light warriors in general, you've got Guilty of the D-Knight, Luminous Soldier, 2 5-star cards with pretty average attacks. Guilty of the D-Knight is not bad in this game. 1850 attack for 5 stars is actually pretty reasonable. Marine Envoy though is actually quite weak. 4 stars for 1100 attack is very weak. There's plenty of warriors in the game that have 3 stars that equal that attack. There's plenty of cards in the game that have 4 stars like Axe Raider or outside of the warrior archetype that just have way higher attack than this. So these cards honestly aren't really that good, but it's not as detrimental because they're light cards, so the support through them is out the roof. You can stick 3 of these cards, whether or not you have Skull Guardian or not, and then just fill the rest of your deck up with light support cards like, Mystical Elves, in which case you could also run the Ritual to play Skull Guardian and keep the deck flowing. You can also use other cards like Bright Castle that synergize not only with these cards but all your other light cards. Like as I said, to support cards like Hoshi Ningen. Even Hourglass of Courage, even though that card you can fit into any deck, it's a light card, so you can stick all your light power-ups on it. And yeah, there's a lot of synergy going on with that. Obviously, if you make a light warrior deck, you're going to be relying on the support of other ones. But that's really the case with any light deck you do. Dragons are the same, there's only a few of them you can stick in your deck, so you basically pick a few of them and then add a bunch of light support cards. So for the Dark Warriors, you actually have some pretty damn cool monsters in here, and also in my opinion, some of the better looking cards in the game. Kage Ningen is pretty insignificant for most people, but this is good fodder to generate cards that eventually will dump into your graveyard so that you can power up Swordstalker. So if you flip Kage Ningen up, it spawns another one face up, and you can always use Darkness Approaches to flip both of them down, and you can use both of those effects yet again. And then, you can just keep using that as many times as you want to get as many Kage Ningens in your graveyard as you want. Of course, on top of all the other cards you're dumping down into the graveyard. And for each of those cards in your graveyard, you'll get an extra 100 attack for Swordstalker. So that's pretty good synergy, With the Dark Warrior deck, you can stick in your Sword of Dark Energy, Sword of Dark Destruction, I think is what it's called. And then that works on all your cards. You don't have to worry about bricking if you draw it, because you can just use it on Kage Ningen before you flip it up to cycle through your deck. Other cards, like effect cards like Skullstalker, it reduces the opponent's monster by 300 points when destroyed in battle, but they're not really too important. Not as important as, most of the effect cards like the Gate Guardian and Blackluster Soldier, Garma Sword Oath, and Hungry Burger are all rituals actually. But there's still some interesting ones. You've got Green Kappa as well. Green Kappa, when you flip it up, it adopts the attack and defense of the monster with the highest attack power on the field, and you can do some cool tricks with this. So if you let the enemy attack into this, there's no way this dies. It's crazy because this will just replicate whatever's the highest on the field. Other cool strategies you can do with this: if you spellbind the enemy's strongest monster or whatever without killing it, you can just use this to attack the rest of their cards or their deck leader or whatever. Something I really like doing with these is flipping it up before it goes onto Warrior, and then you onto Mount what is it called, guys? Meadow Terrain, that's right. And then, after you put it on the meta terrain, after you've used that flip effect, it gains another 500 attack and defense. And then it can obviously move 2 tiles each too. But that just means you'll be able to have 500 damage over the strongest thing if you can use that effectively. You can even do something like flip it up on Yami or Wasteland, and then you use Call the Haunted after you've used a flip effect, and then that'll change it into a zombie that gives it another 500 attack and defense, and makes it move 2 tiles as well. Alright, so let's talk about Earth Warriors. I'm not going to spend too much time on these, but I mean, we already talked about Judge Man, so the main monster you want to be summoning with Judge Man, with the Earth Warrior deck is the Judge Man, of course. And as I mentioned, 3-star fusing any 3-star fusion, you can do 1100 attack warrior with the Judge hand, means you can play Judge Man for 3 stars, and that's probably the best you're going to be doing. 3 stars for 2200 attack is a lot better than 6 stars for 2200 attack, let alone 7 stars for 2300. Guy the Fierce Knight is really nice to play out of the hand, but 7 summoning level means you have to make some compromises. You can always stick the lower level stuff like Eye Armor, Doron, even Swordsman from a Foreign Land is always good in most decks. 10 deck cost and it's like an insta-kill if the enemy attacks and they're destroyed. But you have so much variety that I guess you pick whatever you like, or whatever you think is best to make your judgments and stuff like that. You've also got other cool cards like Axe Raider for 4 stars, 1700 attack is pretty good. One of your best warrior cards, I would say. If you draw that on your first turn and stick some equips on it, you can overwhelm the opponent quite easily. If I go through the effect cards quickly, of course you've got the cards like Swap Battle Guard and Lava Battle Guard, 5 stars. So it's pretty slow to play these, especially if you're playing multiple of them. It's going to take you quite a while. Celtic Guardian has an effect in this game that disables any effect that involves taking control of a card. So that includes Brain Control, Change of Heart obviously, but also like Jowls of Dark Demise and Electromagnetic Bagworm if you ever encounter them, which you won't. Battle Warrior, 500 points against Beast, it's 700 attacks, so that doesn't really matter. Support in the Shadows already talked about. Dream Clown permanently stuns the opponent. This is actually probably one of the more significant warriors in the game. Permanent stun effect is insane, and it's not even a destruction effect like the Medusa's Ghost card, the Snake whatever it's called, the zombie one. This is just a flip effect, so it doesn't matter how strong the enemy card is. If they attack into this and this is face down, they're going to have a bad day. And Warrior 1 and 2 give each other 500 points. These are 3 stars, so you can just infinitely summon them. Which isn't too bad, if you drew a bunch of these and you just kept playing them. It's a lot better than playing multiple of the other card we talked about that has the 300 boost. Eye Armor, this is like Green Kappa but 2 stars. Tops highest attack and defense, and of course you can do the same strategies that I've talked about Green Kappa with it. It's just that Green Kappa has a password and this doesn't, so this one you have to reincarnate to get it. It's a little bit more difficult to acquire. Doron has an effect similar to Kage Ningen. If you're using a Dark Warrior deck, then Doron won't have the same synergy, but it's still a good way to add cards into the graveyard for the Swordstalker effect. Trapmaster can go through an attack without triggering a trap. That's the same as Armed Ninja, which will pop up in a sec. Wodan, the Resident of the Forest, powers up plants by 300 points. It's not very good. Not too bad for a plant deck. It's more of a plant card than a warrior card, really, because if you stick it in a plant deck, you can fuse it to make Bean Soldier, I guess, which is something. Dimensional Warrior, which is known as DD Warrior in the game. When this destroys a card, they can't be revived. So a cool thing you can do with this is actually, against like Seto Kaiba, you can equip this with the sort of Dragon Soul, and then it'll destroy all of his Blue Eyes White Dragon and they won't be revived from the graveyard, so that's always neat. Sonic Maid, this card and Hiki Bime power each other up by 500. Sonic Maid's not too bad, 1200 attack for 3 stars, decent. Monster Tamer powers up insect cards, so it's an insect support card. I don't really think it's worth it though, you may as well just use more equips and stuff like that. Swordsman of a Foreign Land we already talked about. Beautiful Beast Trainer is a support card for Beast, which powers it up by 300 points. Again, not really worth it. And Armed Ninja, of course, we mentioned before, attacks through traps. Queen's Double actually powers up Princess of Tsurugi, but this one's actually cool because it's 700 points. And Queen's Double is only 1 star, Princess of Tsurugi is 3, so You can play either of those cards any of your turns with equips and you never have a problem with it, so this strategy is actually a lot better of a buff strategy than the other ones. Hiki B-May powers Sonic Made-Up, they power each other up of course. Hyo or Hayo spellbinds an opponent for 1 turn when destroyed in battle. It's a warrior card, so these warrior and win cards aren't as good. Princess of Tsurugi and Dragoness are obviously significant for their own reasons, but they do not have the attribute synergy. If you were to use a card like, you can't use Legendary Sword on them, you can't use Invigoration or Dark Energy or anything, so you have to use them as like a deck leader, or in a deck where you just use, Princess of Tsurugi, you just use female cards, it will be a lot better. And that's fine, because there's a lot of female Earth Warriors as well, which I wanted to get to, so I'm glad I actually managed to segue to that point without forgetting it. There's just a big chunk of female warriors, and if you're using them, it actually makes more sense to use the female equips. Purely because you can stick like 9 of them in your deck, and all these female warriors, and yeah, it's just fun. And the female warriors kick a lot of ass. You actually have some pretty cool ones, like the 24 deck cost one, Beautiful Headhuntress. So 1600 attack for 4 stars is not like the best thing ever, it's pretty decent, but not the best thing ever, but the defense being pretty low at 800 means this card is pretty low deck cost, so it just means it can fit in a lot of decks as like a nice staple, even just, decent attack on the first turn, but also any female deck would be good in, because it's 4 stars and it makes for good fusions, so yeah. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video on Warriors. If there's any more questions you have, feel free to leave them in the comments. Otherwise, feel free to leave your feedback in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video.